allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And just to, I'm trying to make an announcement at each meeting that the meeting is being recorded, and if there was any public here, that they were aware of that. So, if we can get right into the approval of the minutes of February 10th, 2020. Can I have a motion for that?
So moved.
By Tom, second by Kevin. There's a couple of corrections on it when I was reading it over. On the new business, I think it's just a cut and paste error. There was a line that says, "We will provide this information during our formal presentation at our meeting on Monday evening." That shouldn't be there. That's just a paste issue. So if we could remove that.
Where is it?
New business budget, FY '21 budget.
Brendan, what did you first change?
The last line, before you get to discussion,
Okay.
right? It's
I
talking
didn't
about
do
the
the
meeting.
minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's just a cut and paste issue. And then on the updated field permit, on my comments, it says, when it gets down to Sullivan's tier 3 and 4, I think that should be corrected to, that didn't make sense. So it should be corrected to Sullivan's Tier 3 are not-for-profit events, with Tier 4 being designated for private clinics. Tier 4 is higher than a not-for-profit due to the business making money on town property. That was my point. It wasn't due to businesses holding less afternoon events. It was that the businesses would, on Tier 4, would be making money on town property. That was my point on that. Were there any other corrections that anyone saw?
No.
Nope.
Okay.
I would move that we approve the minutes as amended.
Okay.
Second.
And second by Paul. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose, abstain, so 4-0-0. Excellent. Here's a clean copy of it to sign.
So the corrections on that copy already?
Yeah.
Okay.
It says the 27th, are we doing that as well?
There's no minutes for the 27th, right?
Yes, that was our lengthy meeting before town meeting. We're still going through them. Kelly was doing them with one hand, and I was trying to keep up, fill in. We just have to sit down and finish them.
Okay. So, no public participation, so we can go right into Director of Parks and Recreation report.
Thank you. Last week, or I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago on February 11th, we met with the Capital Budget Committee to go over our capital request for FY21. All of the proposed requests were approved. They did ask some questions on the sunshade and the around the installation price, and the we were able to give them an updated installation cost. I did receive another from the contractor who works with the vendor. One of their installers did give a price and was also in that 25,000 range. So it does look better than it did last year for the install, which is great. You know, I think some of the questions from capital budget, a couple members were, they didn't understand that we're asking for a certain amount now, that we can't go, it has to be approved at town meeting before we can go out to bid. And we asked for a little bit more because when projects go out to bid, if we only ask for the amount that we got on a quote 6 months earlier, and prices go up. So there were some questions on that. I think everyone understands now. The chair, Ernie, was able to explain to a couple members that were confused about that, and was able to explain that to them as well as myself. And then one of their other questions on the sunshade was the concerned about mold or mildew on it. And I got a statement from the manufacturer through the vendor that it has mildew resistant and mold resistant. The fibers are treated with a mold and mildew resistant, and that they also suggested just a light washing with water would be enough to spray, clean anything off. I envision us, cleaning them each season before we put them away, and then again when we take them back out, just, they're gonna be stored in a garage, dust and particles get pushed around in a garage all the time. So I see us, spraying them down, either right before we put them up or right after we put them up, keeping the playground closed, so. For the most part, they didn't really have any big questions. The discussion was, quick on each of the topics, and, they also brought up the Community Preservation Act and how some of our projects would be affected by that. And so we kind of got off topic of the 4 projects that we put before them, or 4 requests. We did talk about the CPA would be a benefit for us, and they like the idea that we have a list of projects on our 10-year plan. They were looking for maybe some lists from some of the other groups, historic and conservation of projects that they might, see a use for the community preservation funds if they are approved. So they were happy with our capital plan, and that we have a list of things that we'd like to see done. So it was a good meeting, successful meeting, and our next step is those will go before Ways and Means at some point in April.
Did they vote on each one? Don't they usually wait until the end?
They usually do, but they voted on each one this time.
Wow.
So, yes, and that was brought up. Do you want to wait until the end, or do you, and deliberate more and at another meeting? And they said, nope, we're going to take them all now. So they took them all.
Great.
And voted on them. Yep. And then our budget presentation to Ways and Means is scheduled for March 4th. I believe they're still on pace for that, and on that would be next Wednesday evening that we would be on before Ways and Means for our budget, not for these capital items, but for our budget. But in our overall budget season, that's the next thing that comes up. And I will confirm that and let everyone know. I do have an updated calendar of when we're up, and that's what it says, but just in case anything, I'll check in with our subcommittee and make sure they're still on pace for that as well.
I won't be able to make that meeting.
Okay.
If I'll be away that week.
Okay, so if anyone else is around and would like to go on
Just
March 4th.
let me know what time.
I will.
I'll see it. I'll try
Okay.
to make it.
All right. Vermont Systems, I had mentioned a month back, that we were going to be hosting the Massachusetts Users Group for Vermont Systems, which is the software vendor that we utilize for RecTrack, for all of our registration software, scheduling, building scheduling, field scheduling, all of that is in RecTrack. We hosted about 15 people from 8 different communities at the Grandview Farm last week for a training, and it just includes review of the current software, any upcoming updates, gives communities a chance to ask questions and regarding specific things for their community, and it was a good day. The team from Vermont Systems did come a day early, and we were able to secure some alone time with them to ask, you know, specific questions on reports and things like that, but also to look at the scheduling software and how that could be used, how we could implement it with our adult softball program, and doing the league module there. But also, we were fortunate to be a winner in a little tournament they did last year during a small thing they call March Madness. They ran a tournament, you know, for fun, and the top 3 winners, 5 winners, got different things for their department, and we wound up with a new splash page, which is like that front page when you go to register for something. So we've been working on that since, and they were able to answer some more questions, I think, on Tuesday. So we're hoping at some point in March that goes up live, and we'll have a new look to our registration page. Coming up, we have, during the month of March, our program staff will be taking part in some professional development. We have 2 people going to the New England Camp Conference up in Manchester, New Hampshire, and I will be attending the MRPA State Conference down in Falmouth. Then, last thing, the DPW and Parks and Recreation Maintenance Facility, we've been holding weekly meetings on the building and the progress. At our last meeting, we discussed soil testing, the abatement process, with some abatement to be done on the large building that will be coming down. They have to do that before they can demo the building. The site trailers have been delivered, and they started the abatement on Friday. I checked in today on the site. Looks like the test pits were all marked out. They were starting those. And I think the abatement was scheduled to be done today or tomorrow. Once that's done, we'll see the demo of the large building. The smaller building on the site, that is gonna stay because it houses some equipment from DPW that needs to stay in an indoor environment. Needs to stay, can't freeze. It's the pump truck, and it has water in the back, and they can't have that freeze up, so they keep it in the smaller garage. That'll stay through this wintry season, whatever we call what we're having right now. And they'll readdress that, hopefully be able to store it in the new building by next winter when it becomes weather tight. They'll need a temporary occupancy just to keep that truck in there, I believe, overnight as we get into next winter, with the idea that that building will open next springtime at some point. We'll be moving in, so we're excited for that. And like I said, I was there today, and it was an active site, lots going on. You can definitely see that they took panels off the outside of the building, and that, I think some of those were items that they were abating. And then they had some backhoes going, digging some pits and removing soil. So we are excited about that. It's moving forward.
Excellent. Any questions on Brendan's report? Okay. Do you want to share anything on the maintenance side, since
Yes.
Rich isn't here?
Yep. So the maintenance staff, they have continued with tree trimming last week, and they were on the school grounds here working on areas with everyone out on vacation. They could get in, get close to places. So they spent a good portion of last week here. You can't see it now because it's dark, but they did do the pathway that comes in as you come down the driveway in from Cambridge Street. As the field starts, there's a pathway on your left that goes back towards the entrance gate, the main entrance gate. That whole pathway got trimmed up, and around the school, things there did. The Visco building, we took advantage of no program in there last week, and that was cleaned during vacation. And then they've been continuing the work on equipment. So all of the small equipment has been finished, both groomers, infield groomers, and the small John Deere tractor loader have been serviced. And today they were out taking down Christmas lights, got some banners up, continued on equipment, and trimming up at Simon's. We had done some work up there as well. So they finished that up, and they'll be heading out to, we still have to take care of Marvin along the field there, and, sorry, I forget the other place they're going, but TRW. So we'll continue with that. Weather's been decent. We are going to get some rain later tomorrow through Thursday, I think, but we'll be back out there as soon as we can.
Excellent. Any questions on that? No? Okay, Kelly, programming report?
Sure, thank you. So our spring brochure, our program staff has been working on it. We decided to come up with a new strategy and new processes as far as how we compile information for the brochure. So it took a little longer than usual, but we are happy to say that the brochure was sent off this morning, and that spring registration will begin on Thursday, March 12th, which is a change from what I had put in my report. We did need to push it back a day. But that is our spring registration date. It's a little later than usual, but it should be fine. And then just some summer updates. So we're working through our summer staff. Still waiting to hear back from some of our employees from last summer. Some of them are just trying to find internships or other things. So we give them a little bit of leeway as far as that's concerned. And our summer staff applications will be available on our website starting March 1st. And our summer volunteer applications will be on our website starting April 1st. And as we discussed during our budget presentation, we've decided to close one of our Park Place locations. And Kevin, you had asked at that point if we had made a decision, and we hadn't. But we've looked at a lot of numbers. We've looked at amenities at parks and playgrounds in the area, and we did decide that we will be shutting down Wildmere and Veterans Park Place location for this summer, as it has the lowest average attendance at 7 children per day. Oftentimes.
Is it 2 parks or just 1?
So we're closing, it's 2 parks, but it's 1 program. So Wildmere was Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Veterans was on Tuesday and Thursday to fill the week. So we're gonna close both of those locations. But it's our 1 park location, our same staff went back and forth.
Okay.
If that makes sense. We ran through the numbers, and it doesn't look as though that is a sustainable park for us anymore. Oftentimes by 4 o'clock there was 1 participant left, so we would have 3 staff members there with 1 participant. It just isn't fiscally responsible to maintain those parks open. But we will still have Regan, Wildwood, and Rahanas for people to go to.
Excellent. Questions on that? We should just give those 7 kids vouchers and they could go out to lunch every day and we'd still save money.
We would.
We would definitely save money. I don't think we could do that, though. It was a good suggestion.
All right. Anything else? Kelly, any upcoming events that you want to publicize? Because everyone watches our program.
They do, they for sure do. No, well, we don't have any special events coming until April, with our Easter egg hunt. And then we start getting more into the summer months, and we start building back up to probably 2 special events a month, after that. But nothing immediate, no.
Okay.
Well, sometimes,
We're taking advantage of the quiet.
sometimes it snows at this time of year.
Right.
All right. I don't have anything on the chairman's report. Subcommittee reports. Tom, you were talking about field fertilization. Did anything happen with that in school committee?
No, we had a very long agenda that night, and that was sacrificed to get us all home in time. So we're going to be talking about it tomorrow night.
Okay. Excellent. Sculpture Park, anything, Kevin?
Yeah, going in front of the Board of Selectmen on the 9th to see what, narrow it down to 4 right now.
Have they figured out a location?
Not yet. Hopefully we can find something out on the 9th.
Okay.
Hoping.
Paul, do you have anything, planning board?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. Brendan, any new business?
I do, I have something that I've been working on that I didn't include in my report, the Rahana shed. So, lots of, movement, well, some movement with this. So I've met with a contractor to remove it. He's all set. We met with IT because IT has some fiber coiled up in there at one point. I'm not sure, this was probably 20 years ago, you know. Yes, it was 20 years ago. It was early 2000s, late 90s. They put, when fiber came into town, they put some fiber in there, not knowing if they would ever need to hook up cameras for like BCAT stuff or to broadcast anything from over there, things like that. So that's in there. So I had met with them and a contractor to talk about taking it out, what they wanted to save. So took care of that step. I talked with conservation. They're okay with it. I do have to fill out a permit, and I will have to go before the Conservation Commission for approval. It's a I think fairly standard permit, nothing crazy. It's just because we are working within 100 feet of the stream there. And then building department is okay with it. And then the Board of Health, we've been playing phone tag for the better part of 2 weeks. I'm hoping to meet with Christine Mathis tomorrow. Just, she had some questions on it. I don't know what they are yet. So we are moving forward with that. Hope to have the shed down by the end of March and a new one coming in. So it will have 2 areas, one for recreation programming, Parks and Recreation Department use, and then a smaller single-door area that will allow, like, the high school tennis team can store their stuff during the season, have their own lock, have their own separate entrance, and then they can use that, and then once the season's over, they can remove their stuff from it. So it's not a temptation year-round for people to figure out what's in there.
Okay, excellent. Any questions, comments? Do we have to appropriate money for the shed? Have you figured out a
Nope,
shed?
once I get a final price, I'm working with company on design, so I wanna, we don't need, right now, the current building is like 13 by 20 almost, 13 by 19. We don't need that size, so what the plan is to do a shed like we have done at our other parks, but I'd like to put more of a secure roll-up door on it rather than just the standard double doors, and provide that little extra amount of security. So they're working on a price for that, and then we are gonna put it right on the cement pad that the block building's on now. So it was suggested by the building department, because it does stay wet down there, to make sure the underside of the shed is pressure treated. Which I think did they make the floors and the other ones out of pressure treated? I think so, but I just have to confirm that. So we'll make sure, so it won't absorb the water and it can handle the moisture. So we are moving forward on that.
Excellent. It's nice to get it done.
Yes.
Okay. No other new business?
No.
Okay, can we get to old business and hopefully resolve the field permit application?
Yes. So, just having some time to look through what you presented, or what was presented at the last meeting and what we have presented. So we changed the tiers around, I believe was the big changes there. Moved youth sports.
Do you have a handout?
I'm going by what you gave
Oh,
out.
okay.
No, I don't have any handouts. So, you had presented, I say you, Kevin,
Yeah,
you
no, I
had
did.
presented at the last meeting, moving youth sports, or going from 5 tiers back to 4, and moving youth sports organizations into tier 1 to go along with Recreation Department, Parks and Recreation Department programs, and Burlington Scholastic Sports. Have presented in tier 2, getting rid of the youth organizations as their own tier, so you move 3 down to 2, kept the $25 per hour And all requests must be accompanied by a roster. And then tier 3 was all events including tournaments and nonprofit events. There would be a $50 application fee, and we're working on a special event packet, which we have some tweaking to do on it. It's probably a little more complex than what we probably really need. So we're pulling some of the things back. So we don't have that special event packet yet. We don't want to present it unless it's what we really feel should be considered. And then you had on tier 4, we had private clinics, camps, and all other groups, and that was a $50 application fee. And both tier 3 and 4 would look at the chart below, which I think stayed unchanged, correct?
Right.
Okay, so, you know, we talked about Christine's, Brown's, whole, thought process on this was to protect the fields. We understand that, and again, any proposals that we had put forward were, you know, for discussion purposes to see what, you know, how people, you know, wanted to change, what they wanted to change. But, so, I just have some questions. You added in also Recreation Commission approval on tiers 3 and 4. So, at our December 9th meeting, we did vote to remove all are subject to Recreation Commission approval from tiers 1 through 5. So we'd have to be adding that back in. It was in the minutes and it was a
Right.
a vote, okay. So, Tom had proposed at that meeting, but the discussion just kept going, a vote was never taken on it, but to change it to all are subject to Recreation Commission review. So, nothing was ever voted there, so we don't have anything in there at all now on who approves them or anything. And then, my big question with those, is what happens if someone comes in with a request, whatever it is, a Burlington business, or a request that's not 90%, that comes in after a meeting and their event would be, you know, the next week before another meeting? How are we gonna handle those? Because right now, I have 2 requests for June for softball tournaments. One is the McGuire softball tournament, the officer from Woburn. It's the 10th anniversary, they're already asking, so, you know, they're looking for 2 dates. Do you guys want to approve those? I can bring them and you guys can approve them. It's something I've always approved in the office. So, you know, those are kind of my big questions on tiers 3 and 4. If you guys want approval, that's fine, but there's a lot of events that aren't gonna happen because they're gonna come in after we've met and their event might be before another event, or before another meeting, I'm sorry. So, you know, I don't know how you wanna take this, if you wanna
Okay, so.
vote on the tiers and how they lay out,
Well,
and then
there was
the
one
information.
question on tier 2, the over 90%.
Mhm.
And Tom mentioned about lowering the number, and I'm totally fine with lowering the 90% number.
Is that 90% Burlington residents?
90%
Yes.
Burlington residents, if it would make it easier for the staff, if it's over 50%. The intention years ago was that there were teams, AAU soccer, AAU baseball, that were coming in and using the fields. Some sliding in under the soccer name, even though they
Right.
weren't under soccer, and same under softball. So, do you folks want to change the 90% down to 50%? Would that be easier to enforce or not enforce?
I think it'd be harder to, I think you're gonna get more use. I think before we had 90 and 60,
Right,
right, on the original application.
The staff recommendation was to take the 60% tier out, because
Out.
we never use it. So it's either your 90% or
Or
you
you're not.
fall in one of the other categories that are already identified in tiers 3 and 4 in your proposal.
And we still get requests on a regular basis, and especially in the summer, from softball teams that know we have fields, and, you know, they might have 2 or 3 Burlington residents on it. They might tell us they have 6, but when they're asked to produce a list, it really comes out to like 2 or 3 out of 15. So, you know, I think keeping a higher number, if you don't want 90, I wouldn't really go below 80, would you say? You know, 50, it's gonna open it up to all kinds of people, groups, I should say, all kinds of groups. And I think the idea here was that we're kind of trying to protect the fields for Burlington use.
Okay, that was a cut and paste from your tier 3 down to tier 2. Tom, Kevin, Paul, do you have any comments? Do you want to lower the number to 80% or 75 or?
In acknowledgement that I'm older than I used to be, I have no idea. I don't remember requesting, or my thought process behind requesting less than 90. I remember frankly, I just don't remember what my concern was to advocate for it to be less than 90, other than,
Oh,
I just thought it was maybe it was just kind of a high threshold, because something with an 85% Burlington participation or whatever, or 88%, you know, you have to pick a number someplace, I understand, but I thought maybe it should still be subject, or have the benefit of whatever advantage it was given, but I'm not digging my heels in on that one, and I'm willing to
okay,
live
so
with
why
whatever.
don't we do, so if the Murphy family, I think that was our argument, has a family softball tournament, and it's the Murphy family, but some of the relatives aren't from Burlington, and that brings them under the 90%. Do we have a problem? You couldn't invite your sister.
Well, that might work out, actually.
Right. But that's,
Advantage.
You must have the same type of sister I have.
Well, which sister? I guess we should
as I
clarify
said in the
that.
beginning, we're on TV.
But wouldn't,
That would be the only negative of a
when you
high
say a
number.
tournament, are you just looking, the family just wants to go out and play softball? Because that
Yes.
would fall under one of our other, if the field is available, right, the kind of drop in to what people were looking for from our needs assessment and stuff, fields that they can just go and use without having to get a permit. So does that go back to, you know, a group of 15, 20 of them just want to go play softball and head up to Simons Park or to Wildwood or Marvin or Rotary, as long as there's not a scheduled event going on, you know, but, or are they looking to, I don't mean to muddy it, but looking to reserve it for like a 2 or 3 hour period where they're gonna play a bunch of games, and they might play a Hannafin family or something,
Okay, so if they wanted a guaranteed field
right?
that they showed up to, they'd be reserving it. Does the 90% cause a problem, that it should be a spec lower?
I don't know, it goes family to family, I mean, we're using the Murphy family. I don't know how many of your family lives in town and who doesn't, but,
I mean, at the end of the day, we would ask, like we do for anything, and ask for a roster of people that are in attendance. We do look at former residents who have moved out of town, like, there's
Yeah,
a
like if
number of
it's-
things that do come into play when we're making
It-
decisions on.
it's
on
not
that,
all black
right?
and white.
Like it,
Right.
there's-
So, yeah, I guess with that example,
I can
yeah, the Murphy family, if, you know,
You're telling me my
2 of
sis-
your
my
daughters who
sister's
don't
back
live
in?
here anymore, we're gonna play, well, like, they grew up here and they live, you know what I mean? So that would be, I guess what this is trying to prevent or to protect our fields from is those AAU teams, the private club teams that have like one Burlington athlete on them or 2 Burlington athletes and the other 15 are from elsewhere. You know, that's, I think, when you were talking about how Christine had set this up as kind of a protector, and we still do get those. You know, we do get requests from outside groups a lot, that just, because this is a centralized location for their league or for their group of, participants that they want somewhere, this is a good regional spot, meeting location. So that 90% comes in handy for that. I think, a family that's been in Burlington for a long time, some of their family members, the younger ones, sometimes move out. Parents and aunts and uncles may live here. We consider that a Burlington family, the 90%. So
Okay.
it's
You
It's
look-
not
so you wanna
black and
stay
white.
at 90%.
I think that'd be the best.
I'd be okay with that, the understanding that staff obviously uses their discretion depending on the circumstances.
And in the minutes that, is it Tara lives out of town?
Kerry.
Kerry.
Tara lives in town.
Okay, Kerry's allowed.
No, we didn't say that.
Oh.
We didn't say that.
He already spoke about Gary.
Okay, so we're staying with the 90%.
So I think the 90% is important.
Okay, so the next question is recreation approval. And I had put those in there just because I was worried that we're renting out the fields to hypothetically that Moon Bounce place that wanted to use the field for a week to make money and cause a problem. I, as a commissioner, would like to know who's using our fields and whether it's protecting our fields or could potentially damage it. That's why I keep on going back to Christine. That's why she wanted to have her finger on, control on those events. If someone's running a tournament and they're publicizing it, they should be getting a permit, not the week before. How can you publicize using a field if you don't have a permit before?
We catch a lot that way. They advertise something, but or they misrepresent. This is a high school jamboree for softball. Well, what we found out after was it wasn't a high school jamboree. It was someone who's involved in another high school went backdoor channels and had a request come in from the schools to use a field for a softball, but really it was a tournament for another town and they needed our fields for overflow. So, that's how we find out about a lot of these. The ones that are legit do come in and ask for a permit in a good amount of time. Like the McGuire tournament that we were talking about earlier, they're asking now for June. So it's a legitimate request, and, we do find out about some of these that, we don't hear from. We don't plan for them to play on the fields, and then someone may take a ride by and see two softball teams playing on a Saturday. They haven't requested a permit for us. If we had something going on, they obviously wouldn't be allowed to play because we'd have a program, a league going on ourselves. But we do find out about these from time to time. We have a pretty good investigative staff in the office who finds these out. And we're pretty good about, we get a call, I'm looking at a softball tournament this weekend. We'll say, okay, it's available, this is what your fee would be. And they say, okay, we'll get back to you. Then we keep an eye on it. And we keep an eye on websites that they may be advertising on. If they say where they live, then we keep an eye in that town. And we do catch some from time to time. So, I'd
If I
like to.
may, a lot of that, let's try. They said, gee, you feel, well, let's try Burlington and see if we can get it through. And that's why it involves so much judgment, really,
Right.
that kind of thing, because
Well, I'd like to say we exercised good judgment, as we did with the bounce thing last year, because it was gonna ruin grass. And the fee that we put out there for the grass, they weren't gonna be able to pay that or wanna pay that, because it cut into their profits. And I said, for the amount of damage it's gonna cause to the grass, it's not worth it. So I'd like to say we exercise good judgment, so I'm happy that you're willing to let us
Okay.
use judgment on some of these.
we hire you, so we expect it.
Well, thank you.
Yes, no,
To me, on the question of whether we should require commission approval, I would say no. I just think it's, from a logistical standpoint, it's, you know, Brendan's explained some of the potential logistical issues. Plus, you know, I think, let me put it this way, I think they have enough judgment that if there was something controversial, they'd either say no, or they'd bring it to us for our consideration. If they didn't have enough time to bring it to our consideration, they'd say no. What I don't want to be in a position where we're micromanaging every decision over there, because I'm guessing 95% of these things are pretty cut and dry. Every now and then you get a difficult request, you get a difficult group or whatever. I think staff can kind of discern which ones are potentially could ruin the grass or be a problem, or something that we should know about and talk about, versus something that's pretty innocuous. And if they come in on a Tuesday and they want to do it next Tuesday and we don't meet again for 2 weeks, you know, I don't see any problem with giving them the latitude to make that decision.
Okay, Kevin's nodding his head.
No, I agree. I think Brendan's been doing a great job policing them, him and his group, so I say leave it with Brendan in his
Okay.
office, doing a great job.
That's it.
Paul?
Yeah,
Same. Okay, so we remove those two, approval of, on the tier 3 and 4. We'll take away the removal of the approval of the Recreation Commission. The only question I have is, how are you gonna be consistent on the charities, on the fees? Are you gonna, the McGuire tournament, you don't usually charge for. Relay for Life, there's no charge. You do a cricket tournament where you charge $25 a day per field, and then you do a football tournament where you charge. Are you gonna follow this, or how are you?
So we would be following what we put below in the chart. So if there's nothing charged, and it was a group of 100 people, it would be $200 for the permit. Now, it would be anything else that, you know, if they have lights, it'd be going rate for lights. If it were, if they need porta potties, they have
Those
to.
are extra fees. though,
Right,
So they're not.
right. So if it's the cricket tournament and they charge an entry fee of $15, and they're donating all their money to charity, then we figure it out by the chart that's laid out here. You know, so what would that be? They're looking at full days, minimum of 200 or 15% of the income, whichever is higher. You know, we'd follow this chart here. The Relay for Life, we need to throw that out because we inherited that.
No, okay.
So that's, we kept it, that was an agreement with Craig Robinson.
So we take that
Yeah,
one out.
yeah.
But
So-
McGuire tournament, there was a cricket tournament, the Burlington Education Road Race booked fields, I think, just so they would have parking. BEF had a field permit for the road race.
Were they using?
So-
I don't know why off the top of my head, but like Leahy, they come in and they run a road race. You know, they pay for a permit for the fields. They bring in their own porta potties and all those things, so I don't know what they pay, but we'll keep it consistent across the board.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, so Brendan, are you comfortable with everything then?
So what is there gonna be anything in tiers 3 and 4 as far as we had talked about before, all are subject to Recreation Commission review? We putting that in there, not putting that in there?
We're taking it out.
We're taking it all out altogether, so do you have to go back to your December 9th vote, or are you gonna vote today to say,
This is the new
nothing,
policy,
this is the new policy, nothing in there, okay?
which
And,
follows the December vote anyways,
okay,
right?
all
It's
right.
consistent with the December vote.
Okay. And then, so, we're clear there won't be any fees for Burlington Youth Sports Organizations,
Yes.
correct? Because they're in tier 1, which is no permit fee.
Yeah.
Correct? And tier 2 would be $25 per hour.
Yes.
Okay, and then tier 3, there is a $50 application fee, and then whatever comes up in this chart down below. And the same thing for tier 4.
Yes, that's your chart.
Yep, I just wanna make sure. And then, all right, so I think we're good. Do you have any
Insurance.
we didn't get to that stuff yet, right? We're just dealing with the top tiers and the middle chart here,
Okay.
right now. I'm
Okay,
asking.
Insurance was on the second page.
Right, so are we gonna go through lights and we added some, what a nonprofit is and things like that, and then insurance, are we gonna discuss those, or?
Okay, so my only recommendation on the insurance was that you had all renters must have insurance
Mm-hmm,
to use it, and my recommendation was only tier 3 and 4 would need to get an insurance would be an insurance binder, right?
well, they would need to provide insurance for their event, so,
Okay,
you know,
so-
the same insurance that the high school has is probably the same, you know, it's the town's insurance. But the youth sports groups, it might be a good idea to have them name the town of Burlington as an additional insured. It's not gonna cost them anything, really.
But that's something you could just talk to them about. My concern is that we go back to the Murphy family wanting to reserve a field so they can play softball without Kerry, that they don't need to go buy an insurance policy.
Well, if Kerry's not playing, there's no need for insurance, 'cause
She's really good.
she hurts people.
Yeah.
Okay.
You would be asking families to get an insurance policy if they played kickball as a
Would you-
family.
Right, so if we have a private clinic camp,
They're making money.
they would be
And
tier
it's a
3 and
large
4.
organization.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
All right, but businesses, Burlington business, if they're coming out to play a softball game, they're not charging a fee.
And they likely have their own insurance anyways.
Right. Okay, and, all right,
So that would be tier 3 and 4.
Yep.
Would be required to have insurance.
okay.
Kelly, I see you about to say something.
I don't know if I want to, I'm still deciding.
Okay.
All right.
Anyone?
And we'll
I'm
still,
not gonna recognize you then, so you don't have to say it.
we'll still keep the last line about additional fees may be assessed by the Director of Parks and Recreation for staffing, portable toilets, and other incurred expenses, and are the responsibility of the permittee. Correct? Okay,
If you feel they need a police detail,
yep,
that's
that's an incurred expense.
an incurred
Theirs.
expense, it's not part of the fee. If
Correct,
that
yeah.
Makes sense. You know, you're doing them a favor by getting them a porta potty.
I won't be doing that anymore.
You can let them get their own porta potties but that's not a usage fee. That's
Right,
just-
but they have to show proof that they have them coming before, you know, if they're expecting 500 people for some
Yeah.
kind of tournament or fundraiser or whatever, they have to show proof that they have them, because we're not gonna, show up the day of and, you know, they're wanting to use it, say they're using the high school and they wanna go inside and use, that's not what the deal is. The deal is for a permit outside. If they wanna use indoor facilities, believe it or not, they have to go to the, school facilities group and ask them. So I just wanna make sure, that, we're clear on what this is and what an additional fee would be. Okay,
Anyone else? Okay, Kelly, do you wanna say something?
No, thank you.
Okay. Paul?
No, so thank you.
Okay, so someone wanna make the recommendation to accept the field permit structure as presented?
So moved.
Okay, by Tom? Second by Kevin? Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose, abstain, so 4-0-0. Do you need a copy or do you?
I have a copy. I took notes and if I have questions, I'll watch the video to answer any of my
Okay,
questions.
well, it's just that one line. Okay, any other old business?
No,
Okay. Any reason for an executive order?
Not at-
Executive session?
not at this time.
Okay. So the next meeting will be March 9th, 2020. We could hang around for an hour, or we could entertain a
Motion to
motion to
adjourn.
adjourn. Okay. Second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose, abstain? Okay, 400.